Good morning, everybody. Today is July I want to say 6th. The RM golf tournament was yesterday, and I'm pretty sure that I remember seeing 5th on the calendar for that. We finally have a nice hot day. It's not stupid hot. Get mosquitoes already. But we had a fair amount of rain in the last while, in particular last night. Now, before I say that, we have had a lot of rain this year, which normally is a good thing. We're on the verge of too much. Sunday night, though, we got lucky. There was a storm that went through about 15 miles that way, and it kind of trended towards Redvers. So it was north of Elida. They got 5 to 5.5 inches. So that would be 15, 20 miles that way probably. And then kind of south of Redvers, there's a spot that got 6 inches, overland flooding, all sorts of grossness. Anyhow, we got 1/10 to 1/4 inch out of that. And then we got some drizzle all day yesterday, and we got about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch last night. So we can't spray, we need to spray. So what I decided to do is do a crop update, crop checking. So I'm gonna go through all my fields today. Hopefully I can hammer it into one video. As always, quick reminder, if you enjoy these kind of videos, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to know more, always ask questions. I'll try and get back to everybody. And hopefully I know enough or can find enough information to get you what you need to know. So as far as we'll call it crop tour, we're gonna attempt to go in order. We're just gonna do my fields. I feel like trying to do mine and Dad's would be way too much for a single video. So today we're starting with the first field. I'm gonna try and do this in order as well. Ooh, what are you? Big freaking bug. Eek. This is my first field that we sowed. This is the lentils. All in all, they look pretty damn good for what I know about lentils. We're not into the main part of the field, but this little corner here is a pretty good representation of what's going on. So she's about 10% flowered. They're really nice, bushy looking lentils. There, we'll grab one. Pretty healthy looking in my mind, but they are very susceptible to disease. So I would like to spray them fairly soon. Problem is that the ground is a bit spongy. Maybe today with some heat and some wind, things will dry up a bit. I don't want to come out here with the sprayer and make a lot of ruts, because we are going to have to shave the ground to get all these lentils. Overall, it looks really good. This corner can be really bad it's kind of a little pothole here, so it can drown out. As well, it's had kochia creep in. Pretty much all the corners. That corner's not bad. And then over there, just on that'd be the northwest corner of that bluff, there was an oil lease that never got drilled, and they filled it back in a couple years ago. I've been struggling to get the kochia out of that. Otherwise, it's surprisingly clean. We got a good kill on it. Like I said, I've been setting this thing up for a couple years, so I'm quite happy with how it looks. I can see some spots in the middle of the field where there's some taller stuff growing, but overall, quite happy. Yes, we're not going to take the drone out. Shit. I had my iPhone on it before, so I have the wrong connector on it right now. I remember seeing the other one. It had fallen in the back of my truck. Maybe I don't think I'll be able to. No, I definitely don't have the right connection for that. So we'll go take a look at a couple things and see what else is going on. So we're down at my uncle's. Not sure if you can hear. Oh, you can see him right there. Come on, focus. There's the spray plane. That's something I was considering doing on the lentils. It's only 1/4. So I might go talk to the spray plane, see if they can fit something in, what their schedule looks like. But I totally forgot to look while I was there, because you usually end up needing to draw up a map for them. And I can't remember which side has the power lines, so we'll probably double back on the way home and check it out. Anyhow, look at the canola. This was our first field of canola. Looks really nice. I'm hoping that all this humidity, and now we're starting to see some heat finally, doesn't brew up some hailstorms, because this looks really nice. This is 356P. PC, I think, actually. It does have some club root resistance. And I would say she's about 40 to 50% flowered. You can see a lot of the smaller plants are still finishing bolting. I don't want to walk in too much because I'll just get soaked. But we'll walk around the corner. I'm really happy with how this looks so far. You can see the low spots where things got a little bit wet and stunted are behind, but they will catch up. So there's probably an average looking plant right there. You can see even the mains. More flowers means more potential yield. Every one of those flowers could be a pod. So as this stretches out and evens out its flowers, we could be seeing a lot more pods. Whether the pods fill or not is a totally different story. And I have some questions. What happened here? Not really sure at all. But I suspect, if you go from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Right there. But it looks like he may have wobbled that way. I strongly suspect that this just didn't get, Dad probably seeded that, and then actually he would have seeded this. Maybe he shut off too early, or he ran out here and didn't realize it, because there is a delay in the blockage. But there's that. And we also have one on the other side of the road we'll take a look at. And I feel like it's chemical. So this corner right here is really bugging me, because you can see that would be about the width of the sprayer, and you would have came in, probably there's a funny looking line right here. Some white splotchy stuff. I feel like there might have been, I don't remember, but I get the feeling there was something in the booms. Because you can see there's a swing to a corner, and I probably would have backed up. Or actually, I think Dad sprayed this because we were coming down here. It's got to be, like, it can't be drift, because there's nothing else. Like, Jeff's canola is in vigor, my canola is in vigor, But there's a weird streak out here, because I think Dad came in over there. Unless, the other thing is maybe yeah, I'm certain Dad did this, because I was coming down with the semi. I expected him to start on my half because of what was in the tank. Yeah, this is weird. That's definitely the width of a sprayer. That's got to be 120 feet. And he came in, and I think he started over there. So I'm wondering if... God. Because it was right... I'm trying to remember what was going on. So yeah, just looking at this, there's a weird spot there. And then there's this, where it's not bad, it's just not great. You can see a lot of the bottom leaves have some white to them. Some are cooked, but sometimes they die off too. As you get towards the corner, it gets worse. I almost wonder if it got double sprayed and it just got set back, because that's about the width of a sprayer. That's close, but the outside, I don't know. Weird what's going on there. But eek. If we look at, maybe I'm going to be going by Precision. I'll grab a couple of leaves just to look at. And when we get over here, there's real white, nasty looking stuff. Not sure. Suspect there was an issue with the overlap control. Not really sure what to think happened at all. This is some Durham, and it looks pretty good so far. It's a little shorter than normal, but we used, that's a big rock I missed. We used some manipulator on it. So that's what it's supposed to do, is keep it shorter. This little hilltop never does all that well. I'm pretty sure there's a stone pile buried around here somewhere, possibly there and here. It keeps on growing rocks. Let's grab a good looking plant over here. She's still shooting up leaves. I don't see any flag leaves. There's a little bit of disease pressure there. That's an older leaf. Possibly even some bug pressure. But those two are nice, healthy looking. Those could be flag leaves. The way they're, no, I doubt it. They're nice. Yeah. So, nice and healthy looking. There's a couple of leaves on there that are kind of splotchy and streaky, which means there's a little bit of disease or fungus going through. Overall, looks pretty good. I'm quite happy about it. This will be probably a week to 10 days away from needing spray. If you look up there and around the corner, see if I can zoom for you. That's about it. Over here, you can still see standing water. I didn't get to seed that, it was too wet. But there's a bit of a water run. It goes like, this land used to have tile. I think most of it is sanded off and collapsed. But we do get a late flow of water out of it, and then it runs across. And it's still wet. I had hoped to be able to put some like millet or something in there just to fight, but it's untouchable right now, especially now that we got the skinny tires on the sprayer. We don't even think about going into that. Overall, Durham's looking good. A lot of jumping around was done this spring as far as seeding, and that was just because that was what the land let us do. I wanted to do a flyover with the with the drone to show you which fields were wetter and why we did what, but I don't have that cord. So we're coming up on this wetland. You can see still standing water all over the place in there. And it's probably okay right here, but then you get up around the corner of where it is seeded and it gets wet again. And I can see some standing water right about there. And then you go around the corner, it gets very wet. That wasn't a slough last year. I can see some cattails in there. Yeah, not a lot of hope of getting anything out of that this year. Aside from probably a little bit on insurance for unseeded acres. And so just across the road over here is some more 356 PC. This would be about probably 4 days later than the stuff at my uncle's. And you can see the difference in the color. This might only be 5 to 10% flowered. We started here and then we did that, so this is probably about 3 days. And yeah, you're seeing another 5 to 10% more advanced. Still good looking canola. Once it starts really bushing out, she'll really fill in. But boy, do I love that color. It looks phenomenal. The color. The crop could be better, but it's coming. You know, it needs some heat, which they're forecasting for next week, which could potentially mean hail, as I'd mentioned. And yeah. All right, so I've been trying to line up a spray plane for the lentils here. Might have something on the go. We'll see what they're able to do. This is my half section of, it's actually about 280 acres of peas. And then on the other side of the railroad tracks, I have some barley. It looks pretty good. You can see some discoloration here and there, and it's all in the low spots where it's either been a bit stunted or stressed from just being too wet. When I sprayed this with Viper, I think I have some video of that, but it looked as if somebody did variable rate backwards. The hilltops were great, but the low spots were really struggling. There's a good strip that starts on the other side. It starts there and it goes kind of at a 15-degree angle and cuts across. It's a very flat piece of land. It doesn't drain all that well. And unfortunately, this kind of drains into it as well. The problem is where the railroad is, there's some culverts that are blocked off or collapsed or just build up in front of them. They need to get cleaned out. Hopefully we can deal with that, because the water actually needs to go towards the pig barn over there along the highway. And it only needs to go about 300 yards in the highway ditch, and it hits a really nice runoff route that goes straight to the creek. These guys are a bit behind. So last year at this time, we were spraying our durum, and we may have, I'd have to double check, but we may have already sprayed the piece. I don't think we did. We don't need to spray these until they're about 10 to 20% flowered. I don't see a single flower yet. They still need to grow probably a good 8 to 10 inches. This heat and a few more days like it would do wonders for it. Unfortunately, they're still calling for another half-inch of rain probably tomorrow, but next week looks really good. We'll see. In the meantime, let's take the drone out and I'll show you what I mean for a lot of the drown out. Kind of building clouds over that way, but everything's going that way. So I'll try and find a spot to set up my phone so I can record some, hopefully, narration while I'm flying. Okay, so we're up See if you can see me waving. Maybe not. We're up over the field right now. That's looking back at me. You can see Joey had to leave a lot of stuff out in his Durham. Everybody had stuff that got left. You got pretty good coverage. We sowed pretty good, but you can just see all these little low spots are just still saturated, and the peas can't take that forever. So there's one slight water run there. Most of the time that's not very bad. That second one. This one's one of the major ones right here that we're looking at. More often than not, that little pothole is wet. And then the one behind it, the water run right behind it, can be pretty atrocious. We seeded through it, but barely. And you can see it's water running from the other side of the road still. It's gross out there. You know, still hoping to get 30 bushel an acre, still make decent money off of that. But you can see all the low spots have that yellowing to it. That could be disease, that could be stress. And where it's been really wet, we just had no germination. It was just too wet for the peas. Down at the far side, there's another water run that's not normally that bad. And then a few sloughs. Oop, wrong one. A few sloughs that, you know, can or can't be there depending on the year. Would love to put some tile here, but this isn't our land. We rent it. Would love to push that old yard down too. So you can see there's a lot of standing water. And we sowed this thing wall to friggin' wall last year. Aside from that slough that's right along the road there, the two-piece one, didn't get, it was just wet. Wasn't very wet. And at the very far corner, you can see another spot that's sloughy cattails. Other than that, we went wall to frickin' wall last year. It's pretty bad in some places. Like, look at all that standing water. Okay. Sorry about the noise from the oil well. Climate Field View said there was 1.5 inches of rain here last night. I'm not seeing it. I think if there was, because I've seen it where this guy is like full to the brim. Obviously it's worn through at some point here. But it's definitely wet. More rain than down at Wordsworth or out by Carlisle. But I don't think that much more. This stuff, we'll take a closer gander maybe. Yeah, definitely water laying around, but this spot, it all runs that way anyways. This is L233P canola. This was some of the last stuff we sowed. We went this field, then down around the corner. I'm not going to bother trying to go around the corner. It's just a soft, slimy road. But it's in full cabbage. Looks really good for how late it got put in. It's probably going to start popping pretty good here. I would expect it to start bolting early next week, especially if we get that heat. But it is looking nice and lush. It should mostly catch up to the 356. It was seeded almost 2 weeks after. Some of it was later than that yet. But it's about 4 days shorter of a growing season on it. And I'm also gonna say, well, you know, despite it being in the ground that much earlier, it wasn't terribly warm during those days, so I don't think the 356 had a ton of head start to it. I just can't be unhappy about that. You know, there's a few spots that are drowned out up here and there. It's good, it's clean. This was sprayed last week. Don't know if we're going to be spraying for sclerotinia. Typically we don't, but it's been a uber wet year.